In 2009, the sun saw exceptionally intense flares in its atmosphere. Dr. Helmsley notices this and flies to India to discuss it with astrophysicist Satnam. They visit a copper mine and take an elevator to a depth of 11,000 feet. Satnam demonstrates to Helmsley in the mining lab that the present solar flares are the largest in history, causing the Earth's core to heat up. He proves this by opening a tank of boiling groundwater. Helmsley, fearing a worldwide catastrophe, interrupts an important gala and presents the situation to Anheuser, the head of the presidential administration. 6 months later, in 2010, U.S. President Wilson informs the G8 meeting of the impending world apocalypse. While the general public is unaware, the world's most influential individuals begin to plan ahead of time. In the Tibetan Valley, the rich choose to build gigantic ark ships, but the locals believe they are building a dam instead. Employees who are unable to work are relocated, and only those with specific skills are permitted to remain. In 2011, ARK tickets were auctioned to the privileged for €1 billion each. Laura, Wilson's daughter, meets with the museum director at the Louvre to preserve the Mona Lisa from zealots by replacing it with a facsimile. In 2012, newscasts began discussing the Mayan calendar and the belief that the world will end, leading to self-deleting in groups. Cracks are forming on California streets, but they are not taken seriously and are attributed to a minor earthquake. Passengers on a cruise ship become concerned when it sinks slightly in the harbor. Later that evening, Laura receives a call from the director of the Louvre. He informs her that they were misled about the purpose for moving the art and will hold a news conference to clarify the situation. His automobile explodes, killing him before he can finish his sentence. Helmsley and Anheuser inform Wilson in the White House that their estimates were incorrect and that the planet is approaching its end faster than planned. Laura interrupts the conversation and questions why her group is a sham. Wilson has no option but to tell her the truth. Jackson takes his children on a family excursion to Yellowstone. Despite the presence of helicopters and a gated lake area, they disregard caution warnings and proceed to climb over it. When they reach the lake, they are surprised to discover it's dried out and there are dead animals surrounding it. The military apprehends the family and transports them to their base, while a mysterious guy known as Charlie keeps an eye on them from the wilderness. Helmsley informs Jackson that geologists are studying what happened to the lake and that the location is unstable, therefore Jackson should evacuate the children. After the family leaves, Helmsley calls Satnam, who advises him that the mine must be sealed and that similar data has been received from other countries. As the Earth's crust destabilizes, evacuation efforts must begin immediately. During a camping trip, Jackson and his children are confronted by Charlie, who questions the scientists' claims and mocks them. In the evening, Jackson listens to Charlie's radio show, where he discusses the impending apocalypse. Jackson approaches Charlie for further information, and he shows him a goofy animation about the Mayan prophecy. In response to Jackson's skepticism, Charlie cites newspaper stories to demonstrate that those who attempted to reveal the truth were killed. Jackson recalls working with a professor who passed away 2 months ago. Charlie recalls the professor sending him a map of government spaceship locations. Jackson finds the concept ludicrous and returns to his tent. The earthquakes in California worsen the next morning, causing a massive fissure in the ground that splits a supermarket in two. Fortunately, no one is wounded, but Jackson's ex-wife Kate phones to request that he bring the children home immediately. Meanwhile, Anheuser notifies Wilson that just 4 arcs were completed, resulting in insufficient capacity to save enough people. During a meeting with state chiefs, Helmsley provides a report and warns of a limited time frame, prompting Wilson to initiate an evacuation plan. After delivering the kids to Kate's, Jackson receives a call from his boss, a Russian oligarch named Karpov. He orders Jackson to bring his twin sons to the airport as part of his secret preparations for the escape. One of the lads warns Jackson that he will die soon, but he can leave aboard a large ship before another mini-quake hits the area. Jackson rents a jet and returns to pick up his family, believing Charlie was correct. A stronger earthquake strikes California, causing homes to collapse. Jackson comes just in time to pick up his children, Kate and her new lover, Gordon. Jackson must drive recklessly to dodge collapsing houses and streets. As more people attempt to flee, the streets get overcrowded, forcing Jackson to drive through front yards and trees before jumping off a platform. Bridges and towers in downtown are also collapsing, resulting in thousands of fatalities. After a long drive, the gang arrives at the airport, only to discover that the pilot has died. Gordon, despite having only taken a few flying lessons, manages to fly the family out just before the airport is destroyed. As the sea rises, Los Angeles and other coastal cities will soon be submerged. The family arrives to Yellowstone to find Charlie and his map, but he is not in the van as he is waiting for the end on top of a mountain. Jackson drives the van to the mountain to find Charlie, only to see birds flying by and the hills sinking. While Jackson leaves in the vehicle, Charlie continues to broadcast while a volcano erupts and causes destruction in the area. Volcanic rocks shower down, killing Charlie and damaging the back of the van. Fortunately, Jackson drives quickly enough to avoid a fissure in the ground and arrive at the airport on time. He is still searching for the map in the van, which is causing the earth to break and the vehicle to topple. Gordon prepares the plane to take off, believing Jackson is dead. However, Jackson unexpectedly emerges from the truck and grabs Kate's hand. After ensuring his safety, the plane departs before the eruption can reach them. In the evening, Anheuser and Helmsley monitor global natural disaster bulletins. The destruction of important landmarks, the deaths of millions, and the loss of hope are all devastating. Helmsley believes it's time to reveal the truth to the public, but Anheuser holds back until the chosen ones board the Arks, citing survival concerns. Wilson is told to go, but chooses to stay with his people. Anheuser takes over despite Helmsley's protests, and the jet departs with them and Laura, who receives a final call from her father to say goodbye. Wilson finally makes a public announcement to reveal the truth. Jackson's entourage has arrived at the Las Vegas airport, where Karpov is also waiting due to flight cancellations. He brought his twin sons, fiancée Tamara, and their dog. Jackson begs Karpov to remove his family, but Karpov first ignores him. Sasha, the pilot, finds a suitable plane but need a co-pilot, which Jackson's family offers Gordon. Karpov accepts to take them all, and they rush to board a large jet carrying automobiles. Despite being denied permission to fly by air traffic control, Sasha and Gordon work together to take off, avoiding crumbling buildings and only hitting the top of a tower before heading towards China. When they fly over Hawaii, they are shocked to see it fully covered in lava and nearly no buildings remain intact. In Tibet, Nima, a Buddhist monk, receives a letter from his brother, who works with the Arks and has revealed the truth. After receiving permission from his master, Nima departs the mountain to pick up his grandparents. As volcanic ash continues to fall in Washington, D.C., Wilson opens the White House to provide shelter for anyone in need. When a young girl searches for her father, Wilson offers assistance and summons paramedics. However, an earthquake strikes, causing the Washington Monument to collapse. An earthquake disrupted a special mass at the Vatican. The structure collapses and kills millions of people. Suddenly, a global tsunami warning is issued. A cruise ship in the middle of the sea gets flipped over by the heavy waves, and the personnel can do nothing but face their fate. In Washington, D.C., Wilson wakes up coated in ash among hundreds of victims, only to see a tsunami overrun the area and kill any survivors of the earthquake, including Wilson himself. Meanwhile, Helmsley discovers that the base with the Arks will be underwater in 6 hours, and that the Earth's crust has changed significantly. The magnetic fields of both poles have reversed, causing the North Pole to migrate to Wisconsin. Sasha informs Jackson's group that the aircraft's fuel is running low, necessitating an emergency landing. When everyone is ready, Sasha and Gordon begin to descend, only to find that there is no more ocean. The plane has landed in the Himalayas near the construction site of the Arks due to continent movement. The plane quickly loses engines and flies dangerously low, causing it to wobble. Sasha instructs everyone to board a car and escape through the cargo area due to the challenging landing conditions. Gordon initially assists Sasha, but the pilot instructs him to join the other passengers. The families go together in a car that lands safely due to the snow, but the other vehicles crash. Sasha successfully lands the plane, but it skids on ice and falls off a cliff, resulting in an explosion that kills him. Chinese cargo helicopters fly by, transporting animals to the Arks. Officers may see families and offer to rescue them, but only if they have tickets. Karpov leaves with his children and dog, but does not take Tamara because he knows she cheated on him with Sasha. He is relieved the pilot has died. The group wanders around until Jackson throws a rock at a passing truck, causing it to stop. The driver, Nima, agrees to fetch them up. Meanwhile, Helmsley's troop arrives in the region and notices prominent individuals, including the Queen and her dogs. Only 4 Arks were completed, but the third was damaged by earthquakes, and many people, including Karpov, are still unable to embark. Helmsley and Laura are dissatisfied with the fact that the major scientists include wealthy individuals with limited talents, but no Ark workers were given tickets. Helmsley's cabin is spacious enough for 10 people, but they prefer luxury. He receives a call from Satnam, who informs him that his jet has not arrived and that a tsunami is nearing his town. He says his final goodbyes to his family before passing away. Helmsley panics and rushes to inspect the new data, reporting that they just have half an hour before the wave hits the Arks. Nima and the party arrive outside the base, but his brother Tenzin refuses to receive anyone other than his family. Kate begs them to take at least the children, but the grandma scolds Tenzin and gets him to take them all. As the Arks prepare to depart, it becomes clear that the workers were unable to repair the damaged ship, leaving the passengers behind. Karpov punches a guard to get past the door, prompting the throng to follow him to the nearest Ark. However, as the ship draws away from the platform, several people attempt to jump. After a few deaths, Tenzin guides the group to the Ark via a safer route. Tamara discovers her dog is with Karpov's children and whistles to summon him over. The dog swiftly walks on a thin link and reaches his owner immediately before the gates close. Tamara says goodbye to Karpov with the middle finger. Tenzin opens a secret tunnel inside the Ark for the group, but Helmsley becomes distraught as he sees people tumbling from the platform. He urges the heads of all countries to open the gates for everyone to arrive, but Anheuser reminds him that they only have 15 minutes until the wave hits. Helmsley persists and expresses concern about the loss of humanity, citing Satnam's experience. Laura's suggestion that Wilson would have opened the gates persuaded the leaders to do so. Jackson's group is in danger within the Ark as they sneak past the lifting devices that move when the gates open. Tenzin and Gordon are thrown off and barely cling on to the edge. However, the whirling gears are hiring Tenzin's leg. Jackson goes to aid them and brings Tenzin back up, but Gordon slips and is ground to death by the gears. Jackson almost gets crushed, but the cable they were holding onto gets stuck in the mechanism and clogs it. The gate partially opens, allowing the crowd to rush inside. As the wave approaches the mountains, Nima's teacher rings the temple bell before passing away, leaving only 4 minutes until impact. As the gates close, Karpov is still outside and tosses his children into the Ark before falling to his death. The Ark is unable to leave due to a partially closed gate caused by the previous cable. After Tex identified Jackson's gang on the cameras, Helmsley rushes to resolve the issue. The tsunami slammed the arcs, killing all remaining personnel at the base. As water enters Helmsley's arc through the open door, the security system blocks compartments one by one, causing terror among those inside. The chamber with Jackson's group is soon locked, separating them and flooding the chamber. The wave causes a plane to smash into the arc, causing it to lose support and collide with other ships. To go away, they need to engage the engine, which is difficult with an open gate. The tsunami causes the arc to shake uncontrollably and carry it towards Everest, indicating an impending disaster. Helmsley enters the room and locates Jackson's daughter with the dog. He then communicates with the rest of the group via the wall. Jackson embraces the risk and dives in after learning how to open the lift mechanism, despite warnings about potential dangers. Kate's kid, despite his father's desires, assists Jackson by holding the lantern and allowing Jackson to use both hands while she tends to Tenzin's injuries. After much work, he eventually takes out the cable just as the arc hits a rock formation. After closing the gate and starting the engine, the ship's speed prevents it from turning around in time. The arc collides with the mountain, causing large rocks to fall on top and smash some windows. Fortunately, reverse motion prevents further harm and takes the arc away from the mountain, allowing everyone to celebrate and reconnect Jackson with his family. Years are therefore counted as after the flood. On day 27 of month 1, Helmsley and Laura have their first kiss. The captain announces clear skies, allowing people to come outside and see the sun again. As people in all 3 arcs enjoy the fresh air, Helmsley analyzes satellite reports and discovers that the water is receding and the African continent has risen. The arcs head there to begin a new life.